This video covers the Crusades. The Crusades were a series of religious wars fought during the Middle Ages between Christian and Muslim armies. Most of the fighting occurred in an area known as the Holy Land, or the Levant. This is an area near the city of Jerusalem. The main objective was for the Christian armies to retake the city of Jerusalem from the Seljuks. Pope Urban II called upon Christian leaders to mount a religious war against the Seljuks to retake the Holy Land. In 1096, the armies began their campaign. This video will go over the First Crusade, the Second Crusade, the Third Crusade, the Fourth Crusade, and the Children's Crusade. Topic number 1, the First Crusade. The First Crusade occurred from 1096 to 1099 CE. One of the main battles of the Crusades was the Siege of Antioch, Syria. Christian armies took the city in 1098. Later, in 1099, Jerusalem fell to the Christian Crusaders. A few Crusaders stayed behind and set up 4 Crusader Kingdoms. The Crusader states were the County of Edessa, the Principality of Antioch, the County of Tripoli, and the Kingdom of Jerusalem. So the textbooks tend to list the battles and main events and the people that fought in the Crusades, but I want you to understand the brutality of the Crusades. Here's an excerpt from a Frankish chronicler. They also ordered that all the corpses of the Saracens should be thrown outside the city because of a fearful stench, for almost the whole city was full of their dead bodies. The Saracens, who were still alive, dragged the dead ones out in front of the gates and made piles of them, as big as houses. Such a slaughter the pagans no one has ever seen or heard of. The pyres they made were as big as pyramids. So again, this is the aftermath after the fall of Jerusalem. So both sides did very horrific things. Topic number 2, the Second Crusade. The Second Crusade was from 1146 to 1148. The main event that started this crusade was the fall of the Crusader state of Edessa to the Muslim armies. One of the reasons the Crusaders were successful in the First Crusade was that there was disunity amongst the Seljuk Empire, which was splitting into smaller states. Armies from France and what is now Germany marched to the Holy Land. The French army was beaten in Anatolia, and the German army was beaten near Damascus. The previous excerpt I read for you talked about the brutality of the Crusaders. Let's look at the other side and look at the brutality of the Seljuks. This is an excerpt from William of Tyre and talks about the fall of Edessa. There might have been seen a most piteous spectacle, a helpless throng of unwarlike citizens, old men and sick people, matrons and tender maidens, aged women and little ones, even babies at the breast, all crowded together in a narrow gateway. Some were trodden under the feet of their horses, others were crushed by an on-pressing multitude, were stifled to death, while still others fell under the merciless sword of the Turks. Topic number 3 is the Third Crusade. The Third Crusade was from 1189 to 1192. Saladin regrouped the Islamic armies and united Egypt, Syria, and a few other areas. His armies eventually recaptured Jerusalem from the Christian armies that had controlled the city since the First Crusade. In response, King Richard the Lionhearted from England led a crusade to fight Saladin and attempt to retake Jerusalem. Richard and his army succeeded in taking the town of Acre on the Mediterranean Sea. Richard then attempted to take Jerusalem, but his army was not strong enough to overcome the defenders. In 1192, Saladin and Richard II signed a peace treaty in which Muslims allowed Christian pilgrims to enter the city of Jerusalem. The next topic is the Fourth Crusade. The Fourth Crusade was from 1201 to 1204, and let's just say it was a disaster for the Crusaders and the Byzantine Empire. During this military adventure, the Crusaders sacked and looted Constantinople on their way to the Holy Land. Constantinople was a Christian city, and it was ironically destroyed by a Christian army on their way to the Muslim strongholds near Jerusalem. A crusader set fire to the city during a brawl, and Constantinople burned for a week. Later, the Byzantine emperor was imprisoned and strangled. Since the Byzantine Empire was in chaos, the Venetian army took advantage of the situation. After the Fourth Crusade, things got even weirder. The next crusade was the Children's Crusade. The Children's Crusade occurred in 1212 and was not one of the main crusades organized by a country or a king. It was very unusual because thousands of children from France and the lands that are now considered Germany tried to march to the Holy Land. Very few of the children who marched to the Holy Land ever made it. Some made it to the ports, but were tricked and sold into slavery. I found this story to be so untrue that I had to look it up and research it again, but indeed this did happen, and it says it in multiple textbooks and sources. So it was a real thing. I hope this video has helped you. Please subscribe if you haven't already done so, and share my content with someone who might find it useful. Also, don't forget to check out some of my other educational videos on my channel.